most of the therapists that were black and men in my city were old as fuck. No hate, no hate, no hate, no hate, no hate. But I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm calling it what it is. You know, at some point they was young, but they not young no more. They not young no more. So I really felt like I was pioneering something like I could for real connect with the youth in the city, like on another level. The people who everybody call them YNs and stuff like that. A lot of them come in my office because they forced to. You know what I'm saying? And even if they don't necessarily make life changes right then and there, like they learn to express their emotions. They learn to talk about things that they don't necessarily ever talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to form relationships and bonds with these young men and some young women too, um, that I think otherwise probably wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's probably one of the best things.
Now I know what you're thinking. What you guys, what you selling? Now look, I know you all are on social media every day, especially people who trying to sell a business. You trying to promote your stuff. You trying to spread your message. You got the calling. You got the word from the Lord. All that good stuff, right? But you don't feel like it. You don't have the time to promote the social media. You don't have the time to create the content calendars. You don't have the time for none of that, right? So that is where my new package comes in. And this is called the Trust Builder Package. All right. So this is for those of you who want to create great social media content, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, YouTube. All right. And you need somebody to do your captions, descriptions for you that are high SEO that'll get you pushed out there to the masses and to find your personal development audience, because you are more than likely a personal development influencer. So who does this cater to? Coaches and consultants, faith-based leaders, wellness experts, authors, podcasters, motivational speakers, educators, mental health advocates, you name it. All of you who are trying to see the betterment of your community. All right, this package is for you. All right, hit me up in the DM, email me, reach out on the Nazio platform, and I'll hook you up. What's up, y'all? We are back for another episode and another track in the series, in the album. You know, it's been a minute. I was really conflicting on how I wanted to end off this series or end off this season per se. Well, you know, but because we still got more in the series, obviously. But yeah, I was conflicting on how to do it, but I obviously figured it out. To God be the glory. You know, I'm excited for this series and hope, because I feel like each episode gets more intense, because I'm strategically gonna be challenging even my thought process as we get a little further. Not so much today, in some instances, but not like, you know, like full blown like some of these other ones. The ones coming up, I wouldn't be surprised. I might make it so, you know, because I produce very well. I might produce so well where somebody might like close off mid interview. Wouldn't that be crazy? That might be insane. So I might poke the bear, because I'm not gonna leave because I'm in my house. Where am I go? But for them, you know, they might have to log out, and I'm not logging out of an account I pay for. Are you drunk? All right, let's get into this week's meme, because we're talking about a topic from a different angle. We always mention therapy in the podcast. We always highlight therapy. We always talk about the need of it, right? I've said dozens of times, even back in the day when the podcast at its inception, I was like, a lot of these schools, a lot of y'all jobs cover going to therapy. Most people don't know that. At this point, I hope y'all do. But, you know, I understand, you know, people, you know. So let's get into this week's meme. So the first part of the meme this week is, as a man, you need to go to therapy, bro. Inspiration for this episode actually has come from, I work with Jay Barnett a lot, and he always ends his stuff with, you know, like just heal, bro, or just heal, sis. So that was kind of the inspiration for the meme this week. Also, Proverbs, 11:14, it says, where no counsel is, the people fail, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So that's just more inspiration, even biblical, you know. proof that it is okay to have a wise counsel or to seek help outside of, not saying outside of God, but in the same breath, it is okay to talk to somebody. You having just a simple conversation could do so much more than you realize. And also at my church the other Sunday, before we actually got into the service, our pastor called for a meeting with just the men. And we just had a conversation, and and he asked, how was we doing? And when I tell you, everybody, when you say how we doing, and it's just kind of like a fake thing to say. When I tell you, so many men was on the verge of tears. Some actually broke down dealing with, deaths and all these things. And sometimes just talking does so much more than people realize. But I don't want to rant too much, but I will just this kind of tells into my first point for the day, or everybody's favorite, happy hour. All right, so for today's happy hour, I just want to say that I'm not sure what's going on this holiday season with, it's been the shutdowns, and it's been the, can we just say we in a recession? Because I know somebody said it was impending. I think we might just be in it. At this point, if you don't realize by now that you're gonna need more than one stream of income, I don't know what it is gonna tell you. And a lot of us get so caught up in, and I'm not shaming DoorDash, I'm not shaming Uber Eats. But what I want people to understand is we all have some type of gift, right? There's something you're naturally good at. Some people challenge, like, what if I just want to do things just as a hobby? I'm all for that. But in the same breath, I just feel like there are so many things, excuse me, that can be monetized that you are doing in your day-to-day life. And it might not come overnight, but there's something you can do that you can monetize. And a lot of times I think we get caught up in just trying to but then the other part is, what if I don't feel like the stress that comes with trying to monetize my passion? What if, I just enjoy this as leisure? But then at the same breath, it's like, but what if God is what God wants you to do? You know what I mean? Only He can tell you that. I don't know. But all I'm gonna say is, because I'm not gonna rant too much, because we're gonna get more into that definitely in the days coming, probably touch on a little bit today. But what I will say is, I just see so many people. I just hate watching potential wasted. I really do. So many people have so much potential, and I feel like it's just being used on the wrong stuff, or it's a lot of it too is laziness, and we don't realize that either. But I implore you all, if there's something that you're good at and something that you're gonna do anyway, like for example, like what's one thing? Like, I got a homeboy to make rugs. He makes them as a hobby. You know how that much of a killing that's what making. He's been into selling them, but you were sitting up in your house making rugs anyway. You know what I mean? And I told him, I said, who just sit up in the house just make rugs just to make rugs? Like, and he sells them, and they bring good quality, but realistically. So you do something that can be monetized. And a lot of times we just sit and keep talking about what we're going to do, when we're going to do it. And it's just like, all right, bro, come on. But then to challenge that, some people might say, this is therapy for me. There's therapeutic for me. We don't get into that today, because I want to talk to a professional about that, because I don't, but I'm still going to tell you to monetize your passion, but But either way, not finna keep ranting too much, because I have a great guest today who is somebody who I found not too long ago. So many wonderful podcasts. He's doing numbers, but so many wonderful podcasts I still feel like are missing the masses. Like, they got it, which again, if you niche and stuff, you're gonna find your following, and that's how I found them. But I think that it's good to see a Black man in the space. We see many more of them, and a lot of them that aren't, at first glance, you probably wouldn't think he does what he does. And if you know me, I like seeing situations like that, because nobody would think that I was a ghostwriter and writing books and articles and doing all these things for people. Nobody would think that. You know what I'm saying? I'd been in the club and on top of sections cleaning bottles. And then just that whole day, I wrote somebody's book over, transformational, just a whole nine. Nobody would ever thought that. You see my files, you'll probably think, like, if you ever come to my house, I won't let you in. But if you ever came to my house and you seen my TV and seen my DVR, you'll think a whole family lived here, because nothing makes sense. But anyway, he's had a lot going on. He has a lot that he's going to promote today and push. And I know we're about to have a great transformational conversation. So let me go ahead and introduce him today. My guy.
What's good with you, bro?
What's happening? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm living. I'm living.
That's good to know. Good to know. So now, obviously, we on YouTube, and my audio people, they can't hear you. Well, they can hear you, they can't see you. So can you tell the people what's your name, where you from, and then where do you live now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My name is Payton Hogan. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, right in the middle of the map. When most people hear about Nebraska, they don't even know Omaha. But when they hear Nebraska, they think cornfields and ain't no black people out there. But I'm here to tell you there are cornfields. A couple of them are in Omaha, but we also got about 1 million people in our city, and we got black people here too. I think what is it? We got like 50, 60,000 black people all concentrated. Well, we spread out, but majority of us are concentrated on the north side of Omaha. So yeah, that's me. That's me, and I'm still here. I'm still here, born and raised, still here.
Okay. Now, funny because Omaha, that's Midwest, right?
Correct.
So when I was in college, we had the Midwest Club at Texas Southern University, and we had a girl from Omaha. You'll
Okay.
see her around the city today. So that's funny
What's
because
her
I
name?
remember
What's her name?
Tiana Cobb.
Hey, she best friends with my cousin. Yeah, so
That
like
is
yeah,
crazy.
grew up around her. Grew up around her. Yeah,
That is crazy.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. So that's crazy. But yeah, no, yeah, she was always cool people. Yeah, I see her from time to time around the city. It'd be funny because I'm from St. Louis. And she was like, oh, I thought you moved back. I said I would never, but you know. So real quick, you already kind of jumped ahead, which I like. You said to people what you know what you do. So can you tell people more about your um what how do I want to phrase it? Not the podcast, we don't get into that, but your
Yeah.
company. Tell them more about the company. How about that?
Yeah. So I'm the founder and owner of Bear Company Counseling. Um, Started my company back at the end of 2021, going into 2022, when I was getting my full licensure as a therapist. Once 2022 hit and I got my license, I hit the ground running as a solo practitioner. Um, yeah, did that for a year. It was great, but I always knew I wanted to build something bigger, and so into 2022, going into 2023, I got an office at another spot with the potential to start expanding. 2023 hit. I started by acquiring 3 therapists on staff. I started scaling my business, and as of today, we have a total of 11 therapists here. So yeah, we move and we see couples, we see families, we see individuals, children, adults, adolescents, everything in between. Everything in between, man. Yeah, that's really it.
So I gotta ask,
Go ahead.
as a full-time entrepreneur, as a full-time black man entrepreneur, how is your mental health today?
Oh, it's cool. You know, I tap in with a therapist every now and then. Um, Being an entrepreneur, a lot of people think it's like they think it's like an easy thing, like something where it's like,
Man,
oh, I could. That's everybody talks about being an entrepreneur. They're like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my own business. I want to be my own boss. But people don't really mean that. They don't mean that because they don't know. They don't know what it's like. They don't know the long days. They don't know the hard hours. I work more, and this is not downplaying any of the therapists that I have on staff because all my therapists are dope. Like, I don't
right.
just hire anybody. They're all dope. They all work hard. But man, I'm usually the first one in office and I'm the last one out of the office every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's been like that. Building a business is real. If you really building a business, if you really about that, like you're not doing it part time. And I mean, if you coming from money, you could probably do it part time because you'll just hire every position and you're good. But I didn't really come from money like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, so what I'm building, like I'm building that shit. I'm building that shit. I don't know if we cuss. I apologize.
No, you I let people be themselves because that
Oh,
means you getting into it. That's what I like.
cool. Yeah. I'm building that shit up, bro. So it's a grind. It's a grind. It's difficult. But I love it. I love it. I love it. I have a wife. I got 5 kids. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So my time is stretched. I want to make sure I'm present in all aspects of my life. Present being a dad, like I go to all my kids' games, try to make it to all my kids' practices. There might be like one or two practices that I don't make because I gotta alternate between am I going to soccer practice, am I going to football? Am I going to gymnastics? Where am I going? You know what I'm saying? So and having 5 kids and activities, me and wifey try to divvy up those responsibilities as best as possible. But doing that, making sure that I'm able to show up and support my wife. My wife is the primary caretaker, but she also works in the office too as administrative support as well. But just making sure that I'm showing up for her too. Uh, so yeah, bro, it's a real grind. It's a real grind, man. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart at all, at all.
It's not, and especially like I said earlier, being a black man in the entrepreneurial space and in a position or a career that people wouldn't mostly expect, especially the way you look. We all judge by first appearance, right? So
Yeah,
they'll see you, they wouldn't think that. Like I told you, like I said in my intro, like I'm a whole ghostwriter, like you know what I mean. I do transformational content, social content for transformational black men in the transformational space. So like therapists, faith-based leaders, and motivational speakers, all that stuff. So I'm the one that, and then of course all other stuff I do too. And even like I said, looking at me, like I started off my business doing homework for people. You know what I mean? I did, I have so many degrees under the table. And it's so crazy. People graduating every year. If you see my regular Instagram, when it's graduation season, I say, congrats on the graduates getting R degrees. It say like your, and they put like a parentheses around the OUR because, and of course they don't repost it, but they show love on the picture. But that's at that time my life is coming to a close. What I just know is you know you really don't know. In your case, a little more structured because you have a full-blown staff and all that stuff. I don't have all that yet. I know I will one day. But what people don't understand is career broke, or not career broke, salary job broke, and entrepreneur broke is not the same thing.
mm-hmm.
And looking back when we had full-time, like I said, your situation is a little different now. But like when you was full-time salary at a job compared to running the stuff from the ground up, you really don't know. And people like, to hear them stories. What I say, like I had $0 and woke up to like $1,000 of this, and it feels good. And I like how God will supply, and unconventional time is, but in the same breath, it's like, bro, like it gets stressful after time. Overwhelmed. That's why I had to ask you, like, how are you? Because
Yeah.
So Omaha, I mean, it's pretty safe to assume what gap you were trying to fill, but I want you to say it out your mouth. I want to assume, what gap were you trying to fill in Omaha with your practice?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to reach my people, but
Yeah.
we're open to everybody. We open to everybody, bro.
Yeah.
I got diversity on my staff. You know what I'm saying? I have two wonderful white women who do their job really well on staff. Um, but yeah, man, I built this for the people, bro. Like just realizing how taboo and how gate kept mental health has been for people who look like you and me, who look like our mamas. You know what I'm saying? Who look like
Mm-hmm.
our sisters, our brother, all of that. Like there aren't too many people who, when I'm thinking about, man, I'm trying to get my mind right, who can I talk to, like that look like us? And that's like probably one of the biggest barriers that many individuals face when it comes to even deciding whether or not they want to seek help for their mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if when I'm looking for somebody and I'm even contemplating or considering potentially working with a therapist and I find nobody that looks like me, like that right there in my mind, if I'm not familiar, is like red flag number one. Like, why am I talking to somebody about these things that I don't talk to anybody about? Matter of fact, like it's not safe to talk about this stuff because you might use it against me. I can't
Yeah.
trust who you gonna tell. What are you gonna say? Are you about to try to get me locked up for maybe some of the stuff that I'm thinking? Like, why am I talking to you about this? And so
Right.
I don't see somebody that I can even relate to. Like that automatically turns me off from even wanting to seek out the help. And so really I'm trying to make it a point to create an image in a space and an environment where, man, maybe this is all right. Maybe bro actually do fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I can like take off my armor when I sit down in his chair, or one of the other therapists that he has here. Maybe I can get this shit off of my chest for once. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I designed this for our people, man.
Just for anybody who think they want to start a podcast. So is it you? Do you think you want to start a podcast? Cool. Let's be real. Watch this. So we don't need another podcast that sound like everybody else, right? We got enough of them. We're gonna talk about those today. But saying the same stuff with no structure, no message, no plan, that ain't good. Now that's where I come in. Me, right here, Head Honcho. All right. So I have a new podcast package. It's called the Legacy Launchpad. Now, what is this? This is for podcasters who fall in the personal development influencer space. So who is that? That would be obviously personal development. That's pretty broad, but coaches and speakers, Christian-based influencers, faith influencers, maybe a pastor, a church, any type of course creator, education, mental health, wellness, nutritionist, all that good stuff. If you are trying to help the betterment of other people, fitness too, then this is for you. I will help you build your podcast from the ground up. This includes toning up, giving you the message, your niche, your show structure, the episode outlines, the intros, outros, descriptions, all of you. Show up to record and I build your legacy. If you're ready to stop playing, let's get it cracking. Good job. Good job. We love to see it. And like I said, I commend you on what you're doing because, like I said, it's working. So, I have another question, but I want to get to some things first because I got to do that. So I always have definitions on my podcast, and I'm going to ask you 3 different words, and I'm going to ask you to give me the first thing that comes to mind. There is no right or wrong answer. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
So the first one is therapy.
Therapy. The first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Vulnerability.
Emotional labor.
Heavy.
And parasocial relationship.
Parasocial relationship. I'm a introvert. I'm an introvert, or actually I'm an ambivert, which is where I can function in social settings and you couldn't tell, but I'd much rather be to myself. And so that's what I think of when I hear that. I think of ambivert.
Okay. So therapy obviously is the treatment of psychological, emotional, behavior issues through structured interaction between a licensed mental health professional and a client. It says with the goal of improving functioning, coping, and well-being.
Hold up, time. I don't mean to cut you off. Look.
Go ahead.
So you were asking for an actual definition. You wasn't asking for the first word.
No. This is your opinion. You good. That's why I said there's no right or wrong answer.
Okay. Hold on. I'm like, damn, bro is over here giving the whole definition.
No. I always just ask. I just get people, just going. So I just ask their opinion. Yeah. So you good.
Okay.
Emotional labor is this is the Oxford reference. It says emotional labor is the process of managing feelings and expressions to fulfill the emotional requirements of a role, often involving suppressing genuine emotions to maintain professionalism or care for others. And then parasocial relationship, which is a new phrase for me, but it says that is a one-sided emotional connection that an individual forms with a media figure or online personality in which the viewer feels familiarity or intimacy that isn't reciprocated. And I think we do it, and people probably have done it to us as public figures and those in the media space where it's like, that's why I know some people. I forgot. I think it was Tammy Waka Flocka ex-wife or girl wife. I think she had said she never wanted to meet Mariah Carey. She said because she loved her so much. She said if she ever met her and it wasn't what she thought, that would really break her heart. She's like, I never want to meet her. So, I mean, people be doing some stuff, but I get it. Okay, so let's move to another segment for today, which is what does this have to do with mental health? And as we know, we started this segment because to combat digs made in my podcast, so I took a dig and turned some out of it. Now, what is one of the best feelings that you've had or seen from having your business, therapy? What is one of the best things you've seen from it?
I just know I'm making an impact in my community, bro. Like being able, I believe nobody's ever said it, and I might be wrong, but it's cool if I'm wrong, but I believe I was probably one of the youngest and one of the first Black men from my community to have something on the level that I had. I got my degree when I was 25, turning 26, and I broke off into private practice. At first, I started with somebody else about 10 months into practicing. So when I was 26 years old. Yeah, 26. Um, and most of the therapists that were black and men in my city were old as fuck. No hate on no hate, no hate, no hate, no hate. But I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm calling it what it is. At some point they was young, but they not young no more. They not young no more. So I really felt like I was pioneering something like I could for real connect with the youth in the city, like on another level. The people who everybody call them YNs and stuff like that. A lot of them come in my office because they forced to. You know what I'm saying? And even if they don't necessarily make life changes right then and there, like they learn to express their emotions. They learn to talk about things that they don't necessarily ever talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to form relationships and bonds with these young men and some young women too, um, that I think otherwise probably wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's probably one of the best things about starting my business.
That's good to hear because it's funny you said the comment about the YNs because on one of my live streams I referred to Innerly Chopper like he make YN music and I might have jokingly referred to him as a YN and one of the trolls on YouTube was like, "Oh, see, you part of the problem. You shouldn't be calling him that." I'm like, I mean, okay.
I mean, they call themselves that. That's they lingo. That's they time. I don't just be walking around and be like, you a YN, you a YN. But that's what they say. One of the things to be able to connect is just understanding their language. Some of the stuff I don't, it's new to me every day. I hear new stuff. I got kids and they be just I'm like, man, what is y'all talking about? What is this? What is I know I know my parents felt the same way about me and all the old heads felt the same way about our generation. So it just is what it is.
So then that pivots to my next question. So this episode, social media and therapy, right?
Yeah.
What is one trend in therapy, TikTok, or mental health Instagram that makes you cringe?
You want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
Bro, I'm not tapped in. I'm not tapped in with therapy TikTok. I'm not like I be on social media to be real with you. I be on social media, but I don't be on social media like that. If I'm on social media, I'm studying some shit. None of my social media well, if I get to the mindless stuff, all of my shit is jokes. Cause I need to
Laugh.
like everything I deal with is heavy. It's heavy when people talking about stuff in sessions. It's heavy with building a business. Everything is heavy. Like I am not. No, I'm not tapping in with. I
I ain't gonna put that on you, so I'll take it for you. But I seen a meme that says all I come to do is to joke and lie on social media. I don't take this seriously, so I ain't gonna say that you do that. But I'll say that I'll take the blame for both of us because I'll be on here just clowning like I be saying funny stuff. But I mean, I don't really tap. I tap into therapy TikTok more so just a little bit. I just really want to get into more so seeing the conversations about it. And what I will say, and I think even though you're not on, I think you can agree with the next question, which was how has social media changed the way people think about therapy? I think that it has opened the doors and for people to try it. I don't want to get this heavy, but we kind of got to just a little bit, even though we still gonna joke. Don't worry about
go ahead. Go
it. But
ahead.
I am 31. I have 5 friends that are no longer alive. 2 were murdered. One was in a freak accident, and the other 2 just committed suicide. One of which was a few weeks ago.
Mm.
Black man, somebody who was a friend of a friend who ended up becoming my friend, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. I think that so many, and because he was one of those real quiet, and not saying because it's loud and boisterous and over the top brothers that do that too, or won't even want contemplate it, but he was very quiet to himself. He'll talk to you if he know you, but he would tell you some things, but never really everything. And looking back, I feel as though I can't say it was signs compared to like when my first homeboy did it, but I will say that with him, it was just like it's just even crazy seeing like the reposts, like we'll never forget you. And it's just like I think a lot of times you made the comment about expressing themselves, and I think that so many men feel like they can't. I do believe that this generation is doing a better job of having these types of conversations because it is these types of conversations that can save people. You know what I mean? It could be just this one thing could just change their perspective, hearing it out loud. Now they don't. But a lot of times people just need to talk to somebody.
100%.
Before I get to my next data point, I would say, How do you feel about when young brothers say, I don't want to go to therapy, but my friends are my therapist?
I feel him. I feel him. I feel him, and I can't even hate on him for having that position. Because again, if the representation is not there of people who I believe I could be comfortable with opening up to, I'm gonna just go to the people that I'm comfortable with opening up to. You know what I'm saying? And so like if we want as a nation, as a people, as whatever type of box we want to put around this shit, if we want to change that, we need to produce more people that can relate to the people that we want to reach. And if we're not, like, what are we really doing to solve that issue? If they got their homies and the depth of their conversation is whatever it is, that's more than it would be if they didn't have their homies. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where the encouragement comes in to everybody who is around observing it or throwing in 2 cents to statements like that. It's like, if you don't agree with it, fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Are you just on the sideline hitting your finger? You know what I'm saying? Having an opinion on social media about it, telling people to get into therapy, or are you creating spaces or doing schooling so that you can be that image that they can look to and be like, man, I feel like talking to him. I think she would be the person that I could for real relate to and open up to. You know what I'm saying? Are you leveraging your social media platform to create spaces where people can like be a little bit more vulnerable? Or are you on bullshit with your, you know what I mean? Like, I think everybody has something to say about some shit, but majority of people are not willing to do shit about shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem that we run into these days. I think that is one of the biggest things that social media has exposed about human beings in the 21st century. Everybody can have an opinion about something and not be shit at all. For real. And then the next day have an opinion about something completely different. And again, not be shit at all. Farting in their fucking drawers, in their mama basement, grown as fuck, talking about ain't no job hiring me right now, but has everything to say about this young man or this young woman that is not willing to seek therapy. You know what I'm saying? I think with any situation, it's different when you have input about the situation or when you have an opinion or perspective, but you also are doing something about it with your actions and with your moves. We see this today with all of these different political climates, and I'm not going to get into politics like
we
that.
got an episode for that. Don't worry about it.
Facts. But everybody with this political shit has something to say about everything, but not a damn person is doing anything. They have something to say in the moment when it's trending, but their life is not leading one where they're willing to do something about whatever it is that's going on. And I think it's the same thing with mental health. I will say to one of the points that you made just a little bit ago about how social media has made the conversation around going to therapy more palatable for people. Like, people are talking about it. People are more willing to be open to going to therapy. I think it's a double-edged sword because people are more open to going to therapy. But again, then more people have opinions about it. And also more people think that they are qualified to give people online therapy that ain't qualified to do that shit. People are opening up wounds for people and they don't know how to make sure that that shit is patched up. They're saying shit, they're talking about shit, they're sending people on journeys, but then leaving them there stranded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think if somebody's like, I got my homies to talk to, if they saying it to me, I'm like, good, keep talking to them. But man, one of these times you got to get in on a session with me. Go check out my podcast. This is what my session like. You know?
So it's funny because with the whole therapy thing, like I said, I'm an advocate of therapy because I've been to therapy 2 different times. First time in 2016, I was my last semester of college, going into the last semester of college. And another time in 2021 because of my job, because I used to be in education. And it's funny because on the second time I just want to go. I actually wasn't even going through nothing at the time. So as what I was telling one of my homeboys, like, because he was the one I said, my friends, my therapist, I don't think I need an actual therapist. Now, in some cases, I've said on this podcast before, and I'm gonna say again, in some cases, I'll be like, y'all need to go therapy because y'all friends are some fools. So you don't need to listen, talk to them. When the same breath, realistically, I get it. You know, you talking to somebody, so that's still something, right? So I'm aware enough to that. But I had to make that joke. I'm like, them niggas is clowns. Don't talk to them. But seriously, I mean, one homeboy says you in education. I mean, just go check it out. It's free. You know, I mean, you know, so why not? You ain't got nothing to lose. So he's been considering it more, but it's just funny because you know how you just did all that funny stuff you just said, and it's like this man a therapist, y'all. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I like that we bring this out of people because you need to see like all therapists aren't white men asking you, so how are you feeling while you stretched out on the couch, or no, you know, there's somebody that their therapist like you. There's somebody that can be, you know, I think this generation has reinvented a lot of things, especially when education, all the teachers is young and hip. Especially if you're in Texas, all the teachers, you know, like be going viral, like they students be finding their pages and they be dressed to the nines on a regular basis. I don't know if you ever been on Educator Talk or in Instagram, may have stumbled across it in your feed, but they be fly like it's a totally different. I think we've done a good job of reinventing. You know, I feel like we wanted to see something and we made it happen.
Absolutely.
And I think we see that with education. Because do you remember having young black teachers?
No.
Not really. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, good stuff. So my first point, it says, according to why do young men not seek help for effective mental health disorders? This is a systematic review. Adolescent boys and young men face distinct barriers to seeking help for mental health issues, including stigma about appearing weak, self-reliance norms, and uncertainties about therapy. And what I like about that point is because unfortunately, I think sometimes with some of our loved ones, you know, who have unfortunately, you know, committed, you know, suicide and things of that nature. I think that they just didn't want to look weak and they just let it all build up and bottled it in. How do you deal with clients who come to you saying, young black men who said that they've wanted to, you know, or contemplated doing that?
I think, let's do it like this. So many people think that having suicidal ideations is not normal.
Yeah.
That shit is normal. I'd be lying if I said I never had them.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be lying if they said they never had them. You know what I mean? Like we don't normalize having intense emotional responses. We don't normalize pain. We don't know how to express it.
Yeah.
Most of us are taught that in order to express pain, it has to be through the vehicle of anger or rage, all of these other things. And so when people commit or attempt and complete suicide, they almost do it out of a place of like anger, rage, desperation, despair, like all of these different things. And if I feel despair, then I'm angry at myself. But we don't even understand that anger is really this blanket emotion that in order to protect ourselves, we wear it. So we don't have to dig deeper or understand deeper. And we don't have people that model those deeper emotions to us. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick Lamar came out with a song called Fear off his Damn album. And I don't know it quote for quote, but like every so often when I listen to it, I'm like, man, this is really how it is. Like,
Yeah.
or this is really how it was. And like the mindset and the mentality of so many of us, like we try to, we, no, many times we are taught to gain control, to dominate, to do all of these different things through fear tactics, fear emotions, even fear with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's such a fragile state and a fragile being. You know, it's not one that can ever just relax and be okay with not being okay.
Right.
Fear of what is somebody else going to think about me? How are they perceiving me? Do they see me as weak? Do they see me as all these different things? And so then that age old lesson of like if you're vulnerable or if you're sad or if you cry or if you do all these other things, if you're depressed, you're weak, like get over it. And not too many people realize that whole mindset was adopted through racism.
Mm-hmm.
Like we couldn't cry, we couldn't be sad, we couldn't do all, because that's a chance of life or death. But
Right.
right now we're not in a position where our life depends on us putting our emotions on the back burner. And that inhibits people from being able to actually thrive in life, because you're constantly trying to survive. And when people realize that and they actually take a step back and they ask themselves, do I want to just survive, or am I really trying to thrive? Perspective on emotions and emotional intelligence and being able to process through the experiences that I have, it'll look way different. So now when I'm having these ideations, like it's no longer I'm weak for having these ideations. It's like, man, this is normal. And I know they're like clouds. Like clouds are there, but they go. Storm passes. It's just a different perspective.
I don't want to add to that because I think that you covered a lot. I don't want to. I think that was great, so I don't want to add to it. So let's pivot. Let's get to the podcast. You have a podcast. You're a podcast host. CRY podcast. I'm also obviously an acronym person, as you see.
Yeah.
What is the name of your podcast for the people? Well, what does it stand for? And how long you been doing it? What made you say I wanted to podcast in a world where people hate podcast niggas?
Yeah, so CYR stands for Clean Your Room. It's a triple entendre. So play on words. Clean your room. When I'm working with my clients, they're experiencing depression, they're experiencing anxiety, they're experiencing all these different things. The question that I'll ask them is, what does your room look like? And many times when you're in these states or experiencing these type of mental health issues, especially with depression, your room probably is not clean. And so I'll give my clients an assignment. I'll say, okay, let's not focus on trying to just eliminate your depression right now, although you do want to do that. Let's focus right here. Let's focus on cleaning your room, because our rooms are direct representations of what's up here. I truly believe that, and I know that, and I've seen it from firsthand experience and from working with other people. And so on my podcast, I bring people in to talk about their stories and how they metaphorically clean their rooms, typically going through certain shit in their life, not everything being all glitter and gold and like, hey, I'm a business owner. Yeah, I do this. Yeah, I do this. It's like, no, I have a story. We all do. We all have to go through a period of cleaning our rooms. And so the information that's provided on my podcast from these different people that are speaking are different areas that they cleaned, different rooms that they cleaned, sometimes finances, sometimes business, sometimes relationships, sometimes like it's all across the board. So these are different rooms that when people are watching this, they're getting knowledge on how to clean. So they clean in their own mental room. They could be cleaning their own literal room, because the instruction in the beginning of my video is, if you're watching this, it's time for you to clean your room. Literally put this on, put the phone down, start cleaning your room and tap out. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a play on words in different aspects.
No, definitely. Like I said, I think that's dope. Like I said, I got a chance to catch so a few different videos and clips, and I like the whole setup. And like I said, when did it start?
Yeah, so my CYR podcast started in February 2025. This is not the first podcast that I ran. So I've been on social media, bro. I've been content creating since 2020, since I first became a therapist. Because being a therapist, contrary to popular belief, when you're working at somebody's agency, they don't pay you shit. They pimping you. I was the agency's hoe, literally. They got me out here doing work during the pandemic, and they said, "Come back with my money. You need to see this many people. You need to do this," and they not giving you no raises, no nothing. I
Yeah.
remember. I take you back. I'll take you back real quick. This ain't what you asked, but you brought me. So you're gonna have to deal with it. During the pandemic, I was working at a federally qualifying health center out here in my town. We was one of the first people, or one of the first places, to administer COVID-19 tests during the pandemic. We did not shut down operations during the pandemic. We had little ass office spaces where I could fucking smell somebody's breath in session. That's how close we sat. That's how small the offices were. And they gave us little paper masks. They said, good luck. And this is before anybody knew anything about anything. We just know the news is talking about quarantine, people dying, everybody dead, da 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 da. Like all these, we don't have a vaccine, no. And so we're doing sessions. There's times where we have to go back to the doctor's office because we're a health center, and we got to put on full blown hazmat suits to meet with patients back there that Yeah, that are positive for COVID because they marked for depression and all these different. So it was just wild times. It was wild times, and I remember I was on a $45,000 salary, and at the time I had 4 kids with a fifth one on the way, and I'm like, man, I know I gotta pay my dues, like to get my full licensure and all these different things, but it ain't no damn way that I'm about to survive off no $45,000 with a wife, 4 kids, fifth one on the like.
Yeah.
Y'all playing, y'all playing. And so I started diving into just content creation and understanding that whole landscape. The first videos that I posted, I went under the moniker of Barry B, and that came from when I was younger. I used to blow a whole bunch of trees, and we used to just rap. We'd put on beats and rap. And one of the lines had something about burying bones and something like that. So I'm like, Barry B, that's cool, and it rhymes with therapy. Therapy with Barry B. Every episode that I recorded, welcome to another episode, or welcome to another morning episode of Therapy with Barry B. I would say that every single episode, and I'm like, all right, cool. That's 2020. 2021, I started doing interviews with people from my city, different artists that were doing things in the city. I would bring them on, start talking about their stories, but I didn't really have a format, and I didn't really understand it. I knew I wanted to do more, but didn't know how. And so I think I probably had like 15 interviews, never released a full episode, chopped up a couple clips from like 4 or 5 of the different interviews that I did. Um, but then I was like at a crossroads. I was at a crossroads with either growing my business or continuing with social media. I had just started getting monetized on social media. I built my Instagram up at that time to, I think it was like 25,000 followers, my personal Instagram. Built it up, was getting paid off of there, was getting paid off of Facebook. And I was just thinking to myself, which one is more lucrative? Is building a business more lucrative? And I was also doing like some business coaching too. And that was paying good as well.
Yeah.
But I was like, what's more lucrative and what has more capacity to grow? And in my mind, I'm like, I got these credentials, I have these letters, I could really grow a business with that. And so I put all that down in 2022 and just focused in on the business and started growing it. Fast forward 2025, I got to a place where I'm like, okay, I could pick this up. I have systems in place. I'm not doing all of the heavy lifting myself. I am still lifting, but I'm not doing all the heavy lifting. So I have more time to invest in the content creation. And so I picked it back up, man, and recorded my first pod episode back in February 2025. And now I think I got a little over 50 episodes. So we moving. We moving.
Yeah, no, you definitely doing your thing. Like I said, the whole now it's funny because we'll go to my final points in this segment. I just got to add. It's funny how God aligns things because you heard me at the beginning talking about people playing with monetizing stuff, or like I said, y'all had these gifts that you could be monetizing. I think in your case, and a lot of our cases, crisis produces us to a crisis situation forces us to endure and forces us to make something out of nothing. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these people are too comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's like it's easy for them to just like, oh, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. Me understanding from their point of view, because in my case, like I said, when I left education because of the school I worked at literally shut down, which never happens. And I felt like the signs was aligned. I was like, God might be saying, just take the leap. And even when there was times where it has gotten sticky, and I said, well, let me go back to education. Also, one of my services, I do resumes for people. My resumes is some pressure. When I tell you people that hit me up talking about like, oh, I got a 5K increase and they didn't got the job of their dreams, and then I can't get a job. Crazy. I take that as God's way of saying, like, I'm not gonna allow you to go back to Egypt. I'm not gonna allow you to, because if I allow you, you're gonna go back and get comfortable again. So I'm keeping you here because you're gonna go back.
Mm-hmm.
I've had incidents where, your mom, like I said, I'm not married yet, but like your mom will still send you like a job thing and be like, oh yeah, this job is hiring. And I'm like, okay. And she had made a comment like, well, you could just redo I've redone my resume to it can't be redone no more.
Yeah.
It implies over 500 jobs. It's just not meant to be at this point. And even in that meeting that we had with my church, and he was saying how he said, hear me out. He said, these wives are, they wonderful. And, he said, but let me tell you something. A lot of women don't always have the most faith. And so a lot of times emotionally, their emotions get the best of them, which is still needed, but their emotions get the best of them and they got to like, we got to do like this. And it's like, no, because that's going to throw off everything you're trying to do. And I think that a lot of times, people get caught up listening to the wrong people.
Yeah.
And sometimes the right people, but they say the wrong thing and they head not in the right space. All right. So another point, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, the share of young adults who receive mental health treatment jumped. This is according to August 2024. The proportion of young adults receiving counseling or other mental health treatment increased from 18% in 2019 to 26% in 2022, the largest rise among any age group. And it says, according to the Medium blog, why millennial men don't go to therapy. Many millennial men avoid therapy because they don't recognize they need help. They believe seeking therapy shows weakness or lack trusted friends to talk about emotions with. So let me go ahead and jump to the next segment. I'm going to comment on that in the next segment. Hold on. So the next segment we're going to go to is man to man. So with that, so it says men don't trust their friends. Here's the problem with that. I've been there. And sometimes it doesn't click until you get older that you have a friend that you don't trust. And you have to say, why is that your friend? And a lot of times it's history. But I've learned history, sometimes you have to just let relationships go just because y'all known each other a long time. Because history, if you look at movies and in real life, history get people killed. History get people set up, not even just like with their life, with just losing stuff or cancel. I knew a situation where a girl had a job and she had put her close friend down as a reference, and her close friend told the people bad stuff about her. And then it came out, well, I didn't want her. I feel like she was trying to do what I was doing. That's crazy. And that's underlying jealousy. You never know who jealous of you, but I'm a firm believer that them comments, people telling themselves all the time, you just have to listen. How do you respond when we bringing this back to therapy, right? And in man-to-man conversation. Now, we've got the people that say, I don't need therapy. I have my friends. As a believer myself, how do you feel about the phrase, I don't need therapy, I have God?
My pastor explains it best. It's Jesus and not Jesus or. You started off by quoting Proverbs 11, seek wise counsel. Like you need God, yes, but God also ordains other people to help complete his mission. And so it's like, if you're not willing to seek out wise counsel and you think that just falling to your knees and hoping God does the rest without you putting in any work or you taking any action or you taking any steps with the things that God, everything here God created, all for his purpose, all for his, if you're not taking advantage of that, it's like, all right, what you doing? You know there's a resource out there. You know there's something out there. And I know my prayer warriors are strong, and there's no shade to the prayer warrior. We need them. We 110% need them. But you also got to stand up and you got to walk. You got to walk. You can't just fall down and be stuck. You know what I'm saying? And so if I'm stuck and I'm just waiting for God to make his move, but I'm not taking any action behind it, what am I really doing? And that's not to say that God sometimes does not call for us to just be still.
Right.
There's 100% place for that. There's 100% place and time for isolation and for us to be still and for us not to move and for us to just listen and wait. But there's also time if I know I'm going through it and I'm just bottling all of this stuff up and I'm not talking about it and I'm praying, hoping that this stuff goes away. Man, God. Come on.
Yeah.
Stop playing. Go to therapy. Stop playing. You just walking around with a whole bunch of excuses that you waiting to pull. Stop playing. Go to therapy.
What's one thing you personally struggle with that therapy hasn't fixed completely?
I mean, therapy is not fixing therapy. I'm gonna start with this. Therapy doesn't fix anything completely.
Yeah,
it doesn't. So let's not give a unrealistic or false expectation of what therapy is. Therapy teaches us to be able to process process the things that we experience, right? There's this saying that, or there's this belief that we are all working to be healed, ed. You know what I'm saying? Healed, ed. But there's no such thing as that. We are healing, ing. Always healing. And anytime that I step outside of healing, I have to bring myself back to that. And there's moments that each one of us step outside of healing. We're human. We're not perfect, but when we practice healing consistently, it makes processing the events and the things that happen in life just a little bit easier and make it a little bit more bearable. I like to use the example of a scar or a wound. Let's say, I got a big old gash on my arm, cut open, bleeding. If I try to put a Band-Aid over that, what's going to happen?
It's not gonna do nothing.
It ain't going to do nothing. That's what a lot of us try to do. We try to put a Band-Aid over a wound that needs stitches, right? Or some of us will start going to therapy. So we start the stitching process, and then we stop, right? We go to therapy, we're like, all right, I'm healed, I'm good. We stop stitching up the wound. And it's halfway over. What happens then is it still gets infected, you know? It's a constant process of stitching that up. And over time, what will happen is if I stitch it up enough and I keep on dressing it, I keep on cleaning this wound up and all these new wounds that come, eventually a scar will come. And scar tissue is a lot weaker than the actual skin that's there before the scar happens. And so that piece of skin can get hurt. And it also is a visible representation that something happened to me here. So many times we think going to therapy is going to erase whatever we went through. It's going to make me feel different about the way my parents brought me up. It's going to make me feel different about the death of my friend or the death of my mother or the betrayal that I experienced. It doesn't. Like, we're always going to remember the scar doesn't go away. It gets a little bit lighter, It starts to blend in just a little bit. But if I look at it close enough, that scar is always there. The representation is always there. And when I look at that scar long enough, I can feel the pain that I felt in that moment. But it takes a little bit longer for me to feel that pain. And it also doesn't sit there. It's not a physical pain anymore. There's just that internal, like that remembrance. And so that's what going to therapy is like. It's like, how do I learn to address this wound? Not so that it becomes invisible and disappears, but so that I can help it heal and I can better deal with the remembrance of the trauma that I experienced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny you made the comment about healed because my next question was, do you feel like the word healing is losing its value?
I don't. I think it's a buzzword. So yeah, let's say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Just with social media, everybody's talking about healing and talking about woke and all this other shit, and it's just like, let's make this clear. Just because you go to therapy, it doesn't mean you're healing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make that very clear. You can go to therapy and be just as fucked up. Don't use therapy as your scapegoat. I go to
Yeah.
therapy, so no. We're not gonna do that. You gotta
Yeah.
be putting in the work. And it's okay if you're not ready to put in the work. It's fine. Just be honest about where you at. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of us are on our own journeys, our own healing journeys. And some of us are, you ghost right. And so some people are ready to actually start mapping out the chapters of their book. Other people are just talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. But everybody has their own process. Everybody has their own journey. I don't knock anybody for where they at, but just call a spade a spade. Be honest and be accountable with yourself. Because if we're not honest and accountable with ourselves, what can we really do?
Right.
Nothing. No progress that you can make. There's no change that you can make within yourself because I'm lying to myself.
All right, good stuff. Let's move to the final segment for today, which is the weekly sabbatical. And let's just kind of reminisce on some things and end off on a high. So, what kind of mark do you want to leave through the Bear Company, counseling, and the CYR podcast?
I want my kids to see me build something so that they know what they're capable of. And I want my city to see that there's more to what we can do as Black people besides hoop, besides rap. But if you want to do that, cool. But you're not limited to that.
Yeah.
I want them to see that there are Black multimillionaires that are building businesses, that are focusing on their mental health, that are talking about other things besides like flashing their guns, shaking ass and titties on the screen. Like, you could do it. Like, cool. If that's what you do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hating. I'm not hating. I get it. Everybody got their own thing and their own hustle, but you don't have to do that if you want to be successful, if you want to build a name for yourself, if you want to be known. Like, you could be out here talking about healing. You know what I'm saying? You could be out here talking about, look, let's elevate, let's build this business. There's another way. I used to sell drugs. You know what I'm saying? And I say this to every young Black boy, everyone that steps in my office, because all of them want to be the jug man. Every last one of them. If you a good jug man, you could be a good business owner. You just had nobody telling you how to apply those skills in a different way. I had people running for me, so I didn't know I had organizational leadership before.
Right.
I didn't. But once I saw it, I'm like, damn, I'm taking every single skill that I was utilizing when I was out there pushing to build my business. And it made me highly effective in the things that I'm doing. And so you could take those same, what we call in the therapy world, maladaptive coping skills, and you could apply it to something that is positive, that is profitable, and that is prosperous for not only you, but for your kids, for your family, and for your community, and really make a difference. That's the impact that I want to have. That's the footprint that I want to leave. It is possible. Just look at what I'm doing. And when you're ready, follow my footprints.
So before I get to my final points, what's the most memorable emotional interview you've done so far, and why did it stick with you?
The most memorable, emotional interview that I've done. You mean on my pod or just me being
On your
interviewed?
pod.
I mean, my most recent episode, pretty fire. It's pretty fire. One of the homies that I grew up with, his name is, he go by Tip, his name Quincy Hughes. We go back to elementary school days. We hooped on the same basketball team, but bro did 10 years in the feds. 10 years in the feds, drug conspiracy charges. And he breaks it down, bro. And the response that I was getting, just from the people on social platforms, on all of that was crazy. It was crazy. He really has an impactful story. Everybody that I bring on, impactful stories, crazy stories. I had another story, man. Dude got sentenced to 130 years in prison, double life. Got a double life sentence. Served 13 years, got out, didn't snitch on anybody, didn't do anything. But some things happened that allowed for him to be released, and he's turned his life around. But he talks about the specific situation that led to his double life sentence, and he breaks it down in graphic detail. It's crazy. It's crazy, like bar for bar what happened. Rayshawn Abram, crazy story. Everybody that I brought on, fire stories. All look like, I only bring people on that have impact. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what people need to see. People need to see impact. People need to see outcome. People need to see transformation. People need to see change. They need to see that. And so, yeah, I say my whole pod, if I'm being real with you, my whole pod. Fuck it, go check it out. Podcast, tap the fuck in with it.
All right, last article for the day. It says, should Christians go to therapy? What does the Bible say? So it says, and this is by Niemi Turvey.
Okay.
As a witness of Christ, should Christians go to therapy? Is there any biblical evidence that supports or rejects counseling? So as I mentioned earlier, Proverbs 11:14-15, we know that we read that earlier. She says, the member of the body of Christ, one may feel too embarrassed or prideful to seek help outside of prayer and worship. Some may also feel they will be judged if they admitted to feeling doubtful and defeated. It says, who can you confide in? How do you handle depression, anxiety, sorrow, etc.? All throughout the Bible, God stresses the importance of seeking him. Come unto me, all you are labor heavy and laden, I will give you rest. On the other hand, the Bible also emphasizes the importance of community. Bear you one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ, Galatians 6:2. The word therapy is not in the Bible. For them people like, well, it's not, their word's not in the Bible. It says, however, it can be defined among as meeting between two or more people who together to resolve matters by implementing healthy practices. You have a great definition of therapy that is not, it doesn't heal you. It's about breaking down, you know what I mean? That is giving you some just things into perspective. Mm-hmm. There are many benefits to seeking counseling or therapy. It is not anyway as a replacement for worship, but a guide to healing. For where two or three are gathered in my name, I am in the midst of them. He advocates for us joining together. And so, yeah, pretty quick to the point, but just keep that in mind, y'all, that that's is biblical. Several verses that I just read through that prove that from. So shout out to that article. What is one message you want to every young man scrolling online to take from this episode?
Learn what you're feeling. Learn what you are actually feeling. You're not just happy, sad, or angry. There's so many more emotions. Get in touch with them. Understand them. There's an emotion. If you type in emotions wheel on Google, you'd be surprised. There's hundreds of emotions. It's like we can only communicate at the level of our vocabulary. And so if our vocabulary is limited, like I'm gonna have limited communication. You know what I'm saying? So many of us have limited communication when it comes to emotions. And so it's hard for us to express what it is that we're actually feeling. And we're limited to the ranges of expression. And that's a learned behavior. That's a learned trait. And it's programmed intentionally in people. So if you're a young black man and you're watching this, man, learn what you're feeling. When you start to learn what you're actually feeling, like it'll make you a powerful person. Because you now no longer have to walk around thinking you have to defend yourself from everything. You don't have to fucking defend yourself from everything, bro. You don't. You don't got to prove nobody shit. You don't have to sit here and wear this fucking armor all the time. Just because you black and because you a man, I already know you strong. So stand in that. Stand in that strength of being a black man. But the strength of being a black man means, man, I feel, I bleed, I hurt just like everybody else. And believe me, it takes more strength to say that in front of a crowd than it does to sit there and chest up, chin out. Everybody can fucking do that.
Yeah.
But the real one, the one who's really strong, will say, man, I'm not all right. Because then everybody's looking at him like, dang, I wish I could say that too. That's where the strength lies.
Question and challenge for the audience this week. As a man, what is your take on therapy now? We've had a very open and emotional conversation about therapy today. And of course, how social media does it. And I think that this definitely, hopefully, opens your eyes to, seeing. I've had licensed therapists on this podcast before that say things like, obviously as a licensed professional, they're the advocate for therapy, but they also said in the meantime, if you can't afford it or you just ain't there yet, start with the YouTube channel, start with the podcast, just to kind of get your feet wet with it. So we have podcasts like this, obviously you're listening, and then check out his podcast, Clean Your Room Podcast. Where can they check out your podcast at? And yeah, how many and when do they drop?
Yeah, so I try to drop them every Friday. Sometimes they come out on Saturday. Other times it might come out on Sunday. It just depends on. Ever since I started, I started really putting in some work into my intros. And that takes time. So it's either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. My podcast drop, but you can find it on YouTube, CYR podcast. But you'll find it under my name, Payton Hogan. It's Payton with an A, not an E. Please don't spell that shit like that. PAY. Please don't. And then you also can find it on Instagram at the CYR podcast, and you can find it on TikTok at the CYR podcast too. Yeah, tap in. I put clips out every single day.
All right, y'all. That is it. Thank you for pulling up on us at the PSA, the podcast. We really appreciate you. And next week, tune in because we're going into it. He brought it up briefly. Now, he won't be here for it, but we're doing, I don't know if you're going to watch it. We're going to see. We're doing social media and politics. We're going to indulge into that. I don't like politics like that either, but we're going to take it there. So thank you again for joining us. And thank y'all for watching. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And as always, remember, I love us for real.